Welcome to part 2 of understanding your horse's heels. Now, the title of the first video was about the heel buttress, but that's the whole thing. If you're going to understand your horse's heels, you have to understand about the heel buttress. Now, here we have an example of 2 different ways that the heel buttress has been cut off. Okay, now I use these feet up pretty good. This one, I'm about had it, going to have to take it apart pretty soon and quit using it and find myself another one. But the heel buttress is that which butts up, again, against the back of the heel. Grows down from the top of the coronary band right here to the end of the heel right here. And then it has to connect with the sole and keep growing so that you can have at least that much sole under your foot, right? You want to have uniform sole thickness from the heel right here to the toe. Is not that correct? I'm going to show you how there is a very prevalent teaching in barefoot natural hoof care that has misread and wrongly understood the anatomy of the heels and is having everyone chop their heels off right here and set their horse on the bulbs. You see how if my bulbs are sitting on the ground there, see, that's where my heel ends, is right here. So what's happening is people, and I did it too, because that's what I was taught. I was taught to indiscriminately just bring the heels back to the base of the frog. Well, there's a reason why that is not always a good thing. Okay? Plus, there is absolutely a teaching that gets you to shorten your heels right to here. And I'm going to show you where that teaching originated and mention a few of the people that are really prevalent in teaching it. I mean, I taught it too, didn't know any better, but now I do know better, and now I'm seeing horses that were never sound on hard ground sound and walking on rocks. And this is what has been keeping us from getting the wild horse quality foot. Okay, so what I have here, right here is a heel buttress. I want to show that to you. Well, first let's look at this. Now, this would be the way that was sitting on this horse here. This is his foot, right here. Okay, now I want to take a look. Here's the dorsal wall right here. Back here is the heel buttress that runs from the ground up to the hairline, right here. Now what I want to show you is you want uniform sole thickness, which is what I have in this hoof here. Now, he wore his own feet. I just trimmed him down to the level of his own sole when I trimmed him. Now, I want you to look and see how he has uniform sole thickness from here to here. Okay, now, the heel fit right in here. I see, this is the inside. Okay, look back here. This would be right up the back of your heel, what you call the apex, because, you know, it's shaped like a triangle, right? Okay, so the high point, the A part, okay, going from up here at the hairline, down the very back of the heel. This is the end of the wall right here, okay? And right there it turns and it goes into the bar. You see that? Okay, well now I have the bar cut away here. But what I have here, this right here, this piece is the heel buttress on this horse. Going from right here, up at, right under the periopal skin, right up here at the top, all the way down the back to the ground here. And again, look how long it is. Look how the coronary groove band goes straight back to right here. It doesn't dip way down or anything like that. It's straight back to here, where it turns and goes into the bar right there. And then the heel of the horse fits right in here. Right in here. See? Now, let's take this. Which side was this on? This side. Yeah. Well, crying out loud, I can't even fit it back. Okay. We're going to fit it back on. This is how it fits. Do you see that? See how that heel fits right up in here? And so this has to be the inside of here, from here to here, internally, inside there, has to be the same size as the heel of the foot. This little piece right here, you see that? Okay, this little piece right here. Here's the very back of your heel. Okay, that has to fit right inside and before the heel buttress wall. Let's do that again. Let's fit this on there. Why am I having a hard time doing this? Oh, there we go. Okay, watch. See? There it is. There's your heel buttress wall. There's my heel. Okay? It has to fit right inside there. Like so. See that? Now let's look at it like this. Okay, now let's take a look here at this wall and the size it has to be internally and the full length from here to here so that it has uniform sole thickness from here to here along with the toe. Okay, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to get my wonderful hoof kit here that I purchased at Walmart. Yes. And I'm going to get not a hoof gauge, but a ruler. Duh. Okay. So I have this new, this is different than my other one. See? I thought this was pretty nifty because of the little indentations and you could see it better. So I purchased a sewing kit because it also had a tape measure. Alright, so I can use that on the hoof. Alright, so I'm going to get my handy dandy little ruler. Alright, and I'm going to use it to measure the inside. Oh, the inside, you can't really see it. But the inside right here in the very corner. We're going to see how high that is. If you can see. I wish I had better light in here. Okay, I checked that at from the bottom to the top right at 1 inch. Right at 1 inch. So I need 1 inch of heel buttress wall from the hairline up here, the top of the hoof where it indents from the hairline, right down here to just to right here, just to right there. I need a good inch just to cover the heel itself. Let's see. Let's look and see how long the heel is. Okay. Yep. Exactly 1 inch. Okay, the inside has to fit. Okay, is this rocket science? No. It's koozie science. See, you know what this is, don't you? That's what you put a can in. Alright? That hoof capsule has to fit at least as good on that internal foot as this koozie fits on this can. See there? It's koozie science. Yes, it's koozie science. Alright. Now, here's the buttress on the other side. Okay? There you see, this one, it has the periopal skin. Okay, we're going to measure the periopal skin from here to here and see how far that is. Again, here's the inside. Here's the inside. I'm trying to get it so you can see. Let's see how high that is from there to there. Again, we have an inch. Let's see. We have an inch inside there where the very end of that heel fits right inside there. Again, the bar is coming this way. That's the bar right there. This is the very back of the heel right here, and then the wall starts to come around this way. You see? So we have an inch in there. Let's put it this way. We have an inch. Again, that's how long our heel is. Okay, so now we're going to take, and we have the top of the periopal skin up here. Okay, you often call this the bulb, right? Okay, see it there? That's the bulb. Here, I'll put it on the foot so you can see. Let's see. Okay, there. Now it's fit on the foot there. Just a minute. See? Fit on the foot, or you can see the front of it, what it would look like from the side with the wall cut away. That's what it looks like from the side. Here's your bulb skin. Okay, now what I'm going to show you is the bulb skin shows you where your heel ends under here. Here's your bulb skin. Okay, now if we measure from the top of the bulb skin right here, down here to where what they call the periopal flap is, well, the periopal itself will end right at 1 inch, but there's a little bit of extra. That ends about 1/8 inch past that. Okay, so we're gonna look at it. Okay, the periopal skin ends, and the little flap thing ends right there. You see it? Right there. Marked it in green. Okay, let's mark it on here. Where does the periopal skin end on here? Ends right there. See it? Okay, I'm going to mark it in green. Okay, now that's where some people are being taught to cut their heels off at. Alright, you're going to see that you're cutting your heels off right at the very bottom of the foot itself, not giving any room for any sole whatsoever to go. Let's go around here. Okay, that's where you'd be cutting your heels off, is right there. Now remember, this has uniform sole thickness all the way around, right? Look there. Uniform sole thickness. That's right. So what happens when you start cutting your heels off? Clear up to here. Setting the horse down on bare bulb and on his frog coring. I'm going to show you how you're doing that here. Okay. So here you can see the end of the periopal skin, right? Okay. Now let's measure these. Okay. If I was to measure this from, well, let's just go from there on up. Here we go. If I go 1 1/8 inch, I'm really going to butcher these heels. Okay? Now this hasn't stretched out. All right? Here. How would we do that? From I need a different pen. Well, there ain't nothing wrong. We all make mistakes. You know, doctors made mistakes for centuries by not washing their hands after they played with cadavers in medical schools where the hospital was right there, and then going over and do pelvic exams on women and give them childbed fever, and women were scared to death to go to the hospital. More babies were born alive outside the hospital than inside the hospital. Okay, and then this guy come along telling them, hey, I think you guys need to be washing your hands. And they laughed him to scorn. A lot of us are alive today because that guy stood in the midst of scorn telling them that they were wrong. All right, this is wrong, people, and it's in the natural hoof care movement, a deformed foot looks like the true foot. Okay, because when you take all the heel off, that's what you got, a distorted, deformed, unsound foot. Now, you need to learn the anatomy because then you'll understand why the deformed foot and the true foot, all right, that has the correct anatomy and the correct amount of heel can often look very similar and fool you if you really don't know the anatomy of the back of this foot. So anyway, this teaching is wrong. I did it. Everybody has done it to a degree. Farriers are just as bad because they don't know the anatomy of the heel buttress very much more or any more at all than the natural barefoot hoof crowd. Okay? So, but we don't have to stay like that, because if you're like me, I wanted feet like a wild horse. I knew that was true because I was raised around wild horses. I worked on ranches around wild horses out in Wyoming, and I knew that the concept is true, that a horse can go barefoot. Okay? But if you're taught wrong, if you're decimating the heel, that horse is always going to be sore. So, you know, farriers and stuff, a lot of people criticize the so-called natural barefoot hoof movement, the wild horse model, okay, and rightly so, because unbeknownst to all of us, we have been trimming the heel buttress right out of the horse. But you know what? Farriers don't recognize hardly anymore, and they don't know the anatomy either. All right, so they got their own fish to fry. See? But what we want to do is we want to get correct on the anatomy. Now, I don't want to point a bunch of fingers. All right? I mean, it's tempting. But here's the thing. It took me 9 years to figure this out. Yeah. All right? And even though I had dissected some hooves, I still didn't see it. You know, I kind of fell over it, is what happened. You know, I'm not all that brilliant. I fell over it. What I am is, I'm OCD, all right? I'm just OCD. When I have a problem where I think I'm being lied to, or something ain't right, or it ain't working, or it ain't making sense, then I am obsessed. I have got to find the answer, all right? So in attempting to correct my horse's feet, I just kind of fell over this, okay? Plus, I wanted to understand the heel more, because so many people would write, well, how long should I make my horse's heels? Well, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I just never felt comfortable about what to tell them. There was something in me that just kept prodding me, saying something ain't right, something ain't right. But I didn't know what it was until just recently, comparatively speaking. I'm going to remark it with a little better pen. Here's where I see the periopal skin on this horse. You can see it in blue. Okay, now if I was to measure, of course this horse ain't been touched, all right? So it's, this periopal skin is where his would naturally be. I can tell you right now, when you start cutting down the heels, it moves. All right, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to measure 1 1/8 inch, or 3 cm. Now where does that originate from? All right, let me tell you where that originates from. That originates from here, out of a book by a Dr. Hildred Strasser from Germany. Now, let me tell you the story. All right, what happened is 2 farriers back in the, I don't know, mid-'80s, somewhere around there, Gene Ovnick and Jamie Jackson. Hopefully you've heard of both of them. They got interested in the study of wild horse feet, to study them in light of how could the wild horse hoof model help us trim and shoe and correct the domestic horse. All right? So they didn't know each other, as far as I know. They both did their own research. Well, Jamie Jackson went on to develop a method of trimming to try and achieve the wild horse hoof model. All right? Now, at that time, there was a woman over in Germany, a veterinarian by the name of Hildred Strasser, who was also experimenting with laminating horses. And her and another gal wrote a big 800-page book that they want to charge you $800 for, by the way. And Jamie Jackson somehow got hooked up with her, or she got into this research through him somehow. Anyway, she wrote a book, and she come up with some ideas that were totally contrary to the anatomy of the true foot. But because she was a veterinarian, okay, everybody thought, well, she's a veterinarian. She must know what she's talking about. Well, if you read up anything on what vets are taught about horses' feet, they take, overall, they are taught very, very little. They know less than most farriers. Okay? Usually they go to the farrier to have them help them out. So she wrote a book, and she gave trimming instructions for the foot. All right? Now, she said that the bulb height, okay, should be 3 centimeters. And if you look at this picture, she has the bulb sitting directly on the ground. See that? Okay, and she says that the bulb height should be 3 centimeters. Well, that's over here. Bulb height, 3 centimeters from the hairline right to the bottom there, and that's where you're supposed to cut the heels. It's right there. Now, another gal come along. In fact, a bunch of gals come along. If you get on the internet, you're going to run into a bunch of them. I could sit here and name them all, one boom, 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 down the line that followed this woman and never truly checked out her facts. Okay? So, a bunch of people have taught this, and a lot of people picked it up, not even knowing that they're following this Dr. Hildred Strasser, and a lot of people are taking her trimming advice taught through other people with the name dropped. Everybody's got their own version of her trim now that they just plagiarized from her. It's not their own research, and they never even checked it out. Now, it deceives us because when we look at these websites, we see pictures of dissections and all this other stuff, but they never truly checked out the anatomy. And so they have been teaching this error that the horse is supposed to walk on his bulbs like that. Well, really? Is the horse supposed to walk on his bulbs? Okay, so what you got horses with hardly no sole in the heel at all and no frog walking. No wonder your horses are sore on rocks and hard roads and have to wear boots. Okay? All right, because from here, well, I'll show you here. Just a second. Okay, so let's look at this again. If I measure from the top of the bulb skin down 3 centimeters, let's see, where are we at? Let's take our little handy-dandy sewing gauge. Okay, that is going to set that horse right on his bulbs. Isn't that correct? Isn't that correct? See right there? I would have to cut off that much heel below that to do according to her directions. See, all she ever saw was distorted and deformed feet. That woman never had a true wild horse's hoof in her hand ever. Or a picture one. Well, she had hooves that were like 20 years old and shriveled up from Jamie Jackson, and she misinterpreted those all over the place. Okay? Okay, so, what I show you is I'm showing you the real anatomy here. You see that foot there. Okay, you see this wall. You see the uniform sole thickness. Now, you see the periopal flap right there. Okay, so let's see here. Let's come up here. Now, I'm going to have to come up a little bit past this. Well, right to there. Okay, this is where I'd be cutting that heel off. Right there. What am I doing if I cut that heel off right there? Or just a minute. Let me just mark that. Looky there. Right below the periopal flap. 1 1/8 inch. Like, who teaches that? Cheryl Henderson. But who teaches this? Okay? All of them teach this, except for Pete Ramey and Gene Ovanek, and I don't know, everybody teaches this, and I even taught it. I taught it too, for a while, but I never felt comfortable with it. All right? Because I didn't understand it. I didn't know. Should I take the heels back to the base of the frog? You know, should I take them down to the periopal flap? What should I do? I kind of crossed back and forth between the two of them. And I trimmed the heels right out of my horse. And my horse was unsound on hard ground and rock. So I'm just as guilty as these people. But this lady's guiltier than anybody. And the other guilty people are the ones that are making money off you, never having really checked this out. See? And never caring whether the horses were sore continually, just insisted that this was right. There's a bunch of people doing that. You know, what you see ain't always what you get with all these trimming methods and stuff. I found out. Now, I led people the wrong way, but I never charged for it. Ha! Well, there ain't nothing wrong. We all make mistakes. You know, doctors made mistakes for centuries by not washing their hands after they played with cadavers in medical schools where the hospital was right there, and then going over and do pelvic exams on women and give them childbearing fever, and women were scared to death to go to the hospital. More babies were born alive outside the hospital than inside the hospital. Okay? And then this guy come along telling them, hey, I think you guys need to be washing your hands. And they laughed him to scorn. A lot of us are alive today because that guy stood in the midst of scorn telling them that they were wrong. All right? This is wrong, people, and it's in the natural hoof care movement, a deformed foot looks like the true foot. Okay? Because when you take all the heel off, that's what you got, a distorted, deformed, unsound foot. Now, you need to learn the anatomy because then you'll understand why the deformed foot and the true foot, all right, that has the correct anatomy and the correct amount of heel can often look very similar and fool you if you really don't know the anatomy of the back of this foot. So anyway, this teaching is wrong. I did it. Everybody has done it to a degree. Farriers are just as bad because they don't know the anatomy of the heel buttress very much more or any more at all than the natural barefoot hoof crowd. Okay? So, but we don't have to stay like that because if you're like me, I wanted feet like a wild horse. I knew that was true because I was raised around wild horses. I worked on ranches around wild horses out in Wyoming. And I knew that the concept is true, that a horse can go barefoot. Okay? But if you're taught wrong, if you're decimating the heel, that horse is always going to be sore. So, you know, farriers and stuff, a lot of people criticize the so-called natural barefoot hoof movement, the wild horse model. Okay? And rightly so, because unbeknownst to all of us, we have been trimming the heel buttress right out of the horse. But you know what? Farriers don't recognize hardly anymore. And they don't know the anatomy either. All right, so they got their own fish to fry. See? But what we want to do is we want to get correct on the anatomy. Now, I don't want to point a bunch of fingers. All right? I mean, it's tempting. But here's the thing. It took me 9 years to figure this out. Yeah. All right? And even though I had dissected some hooves, I still didn't see it. You know, I kind of fell over it, is what happened. You know, I'm not all that brilliant. I fell over it. What I am is, I'm OCD. All right? I'm just OCD. When I have a problem or I think I'm being lied to or something ain't right or it ain't working or it ain't making sense, then I am obsessed. I have got to find the answer. All right? So in attempting to correct my horse's feet, I just kind of fell over this. Okay? Plus, I wanted to understand the heel more because so many people would write, well, how long should I make my horse's heels? Well, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I just never felt comfortable about what to tell them. There was something in me that just kept prodding me, saying something ain't right, something ain't right. But I didn't know what it was until just recently, comparatively speaking. Okay, so if you've been decimating your horse's heels, and you got to wear boots, and he can't walk on hard roads, and he's even going to through laminitis, you see, because when you trim the heels off, you put all these horn tubules that are supposed to be at a certain angle here. Okay, you set them back further, and that can change all the equilibrium of the hoof, and it can even cause laminitis. And what you're going to find out from what I will teach about this heel buttress is that you can even so trim it off that you actually shorten the foot this much, dropping the bulbs out the back, and you can even develop a form of club foot over it. You can put so much pressure here on the toe that the toe wall will come disconnected from the inner foot here. So a lot of things can happen when you mess up and you take all this heel off from here, from right here. Can you imagine? Okay, you see there, uniform sole thickness. I'm taking my heel off to here. What's going on? That is changing the whole, equilibrium, the whole structure, the whole weight-bearing aspects of the foot, the way it grows, everything. Okay, so this foot and this other foot, the two matching feet. Okay, this would have been on this side. I know from the distortion which foot is which now, because I've seen so many distorted feet. Okay, so, no blame. I'm sure Dr. Hildred Strasser didn't do that on purpose. I'm going to show you here in a minute how she come to the wrong conclusion. Something anybody could have done. I could have done it. You could have done it. Anybody could have done it. So let's not blame her. But let's not hold on to her teaching out of pride either. Okay? Okay, so these are two front feet off the same horse. And they're exactly the same in all their distortions and everything else that they had. Okay, now this foot has the same uniform sole thickness as this foot right here. See there? Here, let's go ahead and, the more you look at these, the more you can figure them out, and the more you understand them, the better your trimming is going to be. Okay. I'm going to try and hold this here, and then put this one up here. Okay, let's look from the bottom. Woohoo! Now, again, if I take the heel off at the end of the periopal up here, okay, what am I doing? I'm decimating. I'm taking all the sole out. Once I take this much of the buttress wall away, there's no sole that's going to be in front of that either. And one of the things that can happen is you can so trim out this heel buttress wall. Now look at it here. Okay, it's a little triangular piece right here. Okay, it's a pillar of the foot. This is the first area the horse hits. See, so you got to have this nice, thick, hard piece of wall here. See? When that is gone, and you take that out to there, this horse is walking basically on just a thin layer of sole right here with this bulb, and the frog corium is right here. Here's another thing. Where your heel is, your frog corium is as well. Right there. See it? So where your periopal skin ends is right here on the external bulb. And that is where the level of your heel is. That is where the level of your sole corium right here from which not sole corium, sorry, that's where the frog corium grows. frog corium grows. Yeah! That's the frog corium from which the frog padding grows. Jeez. I'll be glad when I get this done. I don't even have to do it no more. Alright, so we're going to take a close look at the back of this foot because it's real busy and we want to know exactly the anatomy of this foot. Okay? Alright, now, I kind of messed up and tore off the coronary band on this foot, but it's right here. It's this size right here. And it should have gone all the way around the foot back to here. Okay, the hairline would be right here. This coronary band sits in this groove right there. See there? Okay, now look at this. It should go back smoothly all the way to the back of the foot, right there, and end. Okay, this should not dip down like that. So pay attention. If you're looking for a distortion in the heels, look for where you see the periopal skin here start deviating, going down like this. Okay, so this goes all the way to the back like that, where it stops right here and then curves and goes under the foot. Now, we're going to look at this. Okay, so your coronary band would come clear back to here, just like that, right here. Right here, just a minute, let me get it. Okay. Okay, right there is where it quits being a band and it flattens out and it goes underneath the foot here and turns, and that's where the corium is that the bar grows from. Okay? And right here also, from right here to right here, it turns into the frog corium right there. Okay, let's take a close look. Okay, hope you can see this. Okay, again, the coronary band stops right here. It goes flat and it comes in right there, and from here it grows up into your bar right there. Let's see. Okay, so again, comes right to here. Here's where your heel buttress is, growing right from right here. Right here is your frog corium, starts right here and goes right to here. Okay, so when you look at the side of the foot, which I don't know if you can see it or not, what you're going to have here is you're going to have number one right here, the end of the coronary band that runs right here. Here's where it turns and goes flat and goes up under the foot. Okay, that would be number two. Number three is right here, this little piece right here, which is the frog corium. So see, it's just very busy back there. The foot, okay, there's somebody out there teaching that the foot, the width at the center of the foot never changes, that it's a constant. That is not true. That thing changes all over the place. Okay, all we have to do is look here. Okay, from right here to right here is where our white line would be on the center of the foot. Okay? Now let's look at the hoof capsule on this foot, which is the same as it was on the other foot. Okay? Okay, let's look in the center of the foot. Look how much wider this foot is because of the flaring in the sides than the internal foot is. The white line should be right here. See? So how can I use this from here to here to judge how long my foot is? You know, this foot is not no perfect circle. All right? So you don't want to go around using one of these. You need to learn the anatomy and not think that this is going to be some sort of miraculous hoof gauge that you can just chop your toe off with. You know, it's either going to make it too long or too short. Rarely is it ever going to be perfect. using something like this. Learn to read the anatomy. If you knew the anatomy, okay, you would know that the hoof walls from the side go almost straight down. Okay, now let's look at this foot. Let's look at this foot. Crap. Let's look at this foot. This doesn't go straight down. It goes way out to each side. Okay? Okay, now let's look at the internal foot. Okay, if the capsule was on there right, go almost straight down. Straight down to the side. See there? Ain't out like this. This is going to change the measurement. Okay, now again, I just want to remind you that you can't use something like this for a hoof gauge to judge what's going on in your foot. You have to learn the anatomy. Okay, there isn't an easy method to where you could just take a hose clamp, you know, and slap it on a foot and rightfully trim your horse. You know, I tried that. I tried everything, you know, and I'm sure she's just trying to figure out a way to help people do it easy, but it's in error. And it's causing a lot of people to severely lame their horses. There's lots of stories out there of this going on. And I have some of my own. Okay, so we're going to look at some hoof capsules here. Because when you trim the heels off at 1 1/8 inch or 3 centimeters, which is right so close that you don't have any sole at all in your heel. Okay, and then you wonder, your horse is walking on these soft areas of his foot, and you wonder why he doesn't want to walk on the rocks. Okay, when this happens, you can totally trim this whole buttress wall almost totally out of the capsule. Now remember, I told you there's a certain distance that it fits, just like the koozie fits on the can. Okay, it has to be a certain distance from here to here, right? Okay, this has to be a certain distance from here to here in order to fit the back of the heel of the foot. Okay, and then this piece right here, that holds up the back of the lateral cartilage and the bulb. That holds this up right here. That supports that and keeps that bulb up off the ground, not on the ground. Okay, so what happens is, and see, I had this happen. I lowered them heels like that, and then I would come out in a few weeks and there'd be a big chunk of periopal flap skin, and I'd think, well, I need to lower it some more, and some more, and some more. Every time I come out, there'd be a big chunk of periopal flap, and it looked like the heel was really long, so I would lower it some more. But what was happening was I was totally, okay, you see where the periopal is attached right here? Okay, when you lower it right here, okay, the horse wears that, it comes loose, and the internal foot kind of pops up like this, and all the periopal skin stretches in here. And this right here, you'll see this area, this will start to like bend down like this because you're trimming all of this wall out of the foot, okay? And because, okay, now look, this is hard to explain. Okay, now, you see this part right here? Right there? That right in here is attached very firmly to right here in the back of this foot. Okay? So when you lower it, what's it do? It's going to pull this down with it. It's going to pull all this down with it. See this cartilage here? See how it goes up and down like so? Okay? When you got it right and it's supported, it's like this. But when you cut it, you cut that piece of wall here, it starts pulling it down and down and down to where finally it's like this. And it can pull it almost clear up under the foot like this. Look there. Look how I can make that. Do that. And then your horse is bearing, there is no more heel buttress wall for this horse. Okay, now he's bearing his weight on the wall on the side here, from right here. That's where he starts bearing it next. And then the force of the foot and the direction of the horn tubules, the angle, is pushing the wall this way. And also wanting to push it up, it can actually cause laminitis. You'll have a very weak, emaciated frog. You'll always have a problem with your frog. Never good frog. The horse is not going to like rocks or hard dirt or roads at all. Okay. Look at how I was able to just pull that down by hand. Okay, so this is supported under here. This side's, see, okay, hey, you want to know about one high bulb, one low bulb? There you go. One has more heel buttress wall under it. The other has been trimmed out and the bulb has been pulled down. See there? Look. See how I can pick that up? See? That thing goes up and down. It's made to do that. Because, you know, you want to talk about flexing the foot. This is the part of the foot that flexes when it's on different types of ground. Look at that. So, yeah, you can cut that heel buttress wall out, and it just pulls this down and under, like that. Shorten, and here's another thing it'll do. Okay, it's meant to be held up like this. When it pulls that down, it shortens your overall foot, like so. And in reality, this is all covered with periopal skin back here, but the capsule is no longer fitting the foot. The capsule is like up to here, and you got your bulbs sticking out on the ground over here. No support under the wall here. You got this going on. Okay. So what you're doing is, by doing this kind of a trim, you're slowly taking the whole heel buttress away from the foot and setting the foot on the walls, that are right in front of the heel buttress. There. Right there. They're wearing weight on this wall. Okay. Now, I'll show you some capsules here that have the heel buttress wall trimmed out of them while they were alive. Let's see. And the foundered foot. Let's see. Okay. All right. I guess the first one I'll show you is this one. Where is it? What did I do? This back foot. Okay. Remember, how does the coronary band go on the foot? And how is the wall supposed to look? It's supposed to look like this, right? This is the other side. It's supposed to go it's straight, but it's at an angle, but it's straight, right? From front to back. Let's see. All right. Well, let's look at this one. Okay, and remember, what did we have on the inside of here? We had an inch, right, that the heel fit in, right? Okay, not so on this foot. The heel buttress wall was trimmed out. And as it's trimmed out, it pulls the wall down right here. And it takes wall out of the capsule, not only the heel buttress itself, which is right here, okay, but it starts taking wall out of the heel area from here to here. See, this should be up like so. This wall here should be up to here. Instead, it's clear down like this. Now let's look inside, right there, and let's measure how much room there is for the heel. Let me look at it. About 2/8 of an inch. That's how much of the heel was trimmed out of this horse right here. There's no place for the heel to fit in back here. Now, there would have been periopal skin over the back of the foot that was stretched up like this and over the bulb. Because the hide and the bulb is still up here. Alright? So as the wall is trimmed out here, okay, that hide or that periopal skin just stretches with it and disguises it. See? Okay. This was Cat Dancer, the mare that was really foundered. She had no, well, in this foot, she had somewhat, well, it was the same thing with her. Look at how the wall goes down here. See, back to here. Her heel buttress was also quite a bit trimmed out here. Okay, and you can see how the periopal skin stretched to cover that. What else have I got here? Okay, let's look here. How much did she have? Less than ½ an inch in there, and she should have had an inch for her foot to fit, for the heel to fit down in there. Okay, and see how it stretches the periopal skin? Makes it look all weird here. See, when your foot is right, you won't have a big old bulb or a big, thick, wide periopal skin. Okay, it'll be very, very narrow. Look at this horse. Okay, remember his heels fit the internal part of his foot, but he hasn't got big old wide bulbs, does he? This is the most the bulb is right here, past the inside of the apex of the heel buttress wall right here. Here's the wall, goes up under here, up to here. See, that's another thing. Part of the heel buttress wall is up behind this bulb skin. All right, so this goes up to here. The thickest part of your bulb skin should be over here. You shouldn't have bulbs that look like that. If you have a bulb that looks like that and is setting on the ground, then you have trimmed the heel buttress wall out of your horse's feet. Okay, see how straight it goes and stops right there? Okay, and right from there to there, it curves under into the bar. And from here to here, you have your frog corium and your frog. Now, this is Kansas, and this horse was never taken care of, or he'd have had better, thicker frogs. What you want to do is you want the correct amount of heel buttress past the periopal flap here, and then you're going to have sole. You're going to have an equal amount of sole there, and then you're going to take care of the frogs, and you're going to grow the frog down, you know, almost even with the bottom of the buttress wall. But here's the deal too: when you set they set their feet down, okay, the back of the foot pushes down lower. So if you're looking at down at the heel like this, and you go, gee, those heels look high, and I haven't got any frog contact. Well, here's the deal: when that horse sets his foot down, this part of the foot that is flexible kind of pushes down a little bit, moves down a little bit, and the horse will have frog contact. But you want to make sure that when you trim, you take a rasp and run it over the wall like that so that your frog is not sticking up above the sides of your walls. Okay, so here's the back foot. Now look, very little, there he ain't got no big wide bulbs, does he? No, because everything is anatomically pretty correct here. Now his heels are a little bit run forward. He could have a little steeper dorsal wall, but he didn't do a bad job at all. And so just to remind you how this works, let's see if I can find a pin. Oh, here it is. Okay, just to remind you how this works. Okay, here's your coronary band that runs straight back like that. Right here, it turns, goes around and under the foot. That is, okay, this is number 1. Number 2 is where it turns and goes back under the foot, becomes the bar. Right below that's number 3, where the frog corium is right here as well. Okay, so what this periopal skin does, it tells us about where the internal foot ends, which is right here. My internal foot ends right about there. Now, don't you think I want to have at least this much sole? See? So if you cut your heel off here, you have no sole in the heels. And it'll transfer up here to the front because you won't get sole in the toe. Not really either. Okay, now in some horses, they could retain a whole bunch of sole in the toe, and it could just grow higher and higher like this. Okay, but that's a different kind of hoof distortion there altogether. Okay, so my heel buttress, let's see. Let's look at it here. Okay, here's my buttress wall right here. Right. Okay, that is the heel buttress wall right there. Okay, the internal foot actually would be right here. That's the heel of the internal foot right there. Okay, this is all buttress wall here, or pillar. Genovinic called it a pillar. That is a pillar. Don't take all the pillar out of your heel. You know, we call this up here the pillars, but this is the main pillar of the whole foot, the 2 pillars at the very back. I'll go into more in other videos about the different types of hoof distortion this can cause. Everything from club feet to laminitis. All right. You know, let's not play the blame game. Let's just start doing it right, and you know, trying to appreciate people for what they do. I've kind of held a grudge against a few people, but I just released that because I made mistakes as well. You know, so, you know, rather than point fingers, let's just change our websites and start getting it right to help the horse. That's what matters, all right? Okay. Not to condemn and not to play a blame game, all right? But I need to show you how this error started, all right? And it was like this. Dr. Hildred Strasser took a coffin bone and put it on a table like that. Then she drew lines and she measured, let's see, she measured the angles of it. Probably can't do this perfect, but she measured the angles of it, like this and like that. And she saw that on a front coffin bone, the dorsal wall angle was it 45 degrees. 45 degrees. And that, like this, which she thought represented the hairline, was 30 degrees. Alright, so again, 45 degrees here, 30 degrees here. I got a piece of plexiglass, because see, I believed that for a while, okay, but I've got also the measurements that I come up with on a regular foot, Okay, so 45, I'll have to turn this around. Let's see. Okay, there we go. 45 and 30 is what she come up with. Okay? Something like that. Alright? Okay, so then she thought that every foot should be trimmed to those measurements. And if you Google this, you'll find a lot of feet that are like that. Okay, this foot here. Okay, what is the angle on this? This is at 50. Right here. She would say this is too much, so what if we took the heel off of this horse, then it would be at 45 degrees. But we know that if we take the heel off of this horse, that we're not going to have any sole left in the heel, right? Okay, so what she did was, she took a coffin bone, she measured the angles, and she said all horses should have these angles. The hairline should be like this, and the dorsal wall should be like this. So then people started making these little plexiglass things, and they started cutting the foot to be exactly like that, which is if I took these heel bulbs down to 3 centimeters, or 1 1/8 inch to the end of the periopal flap, I would cut all the sole out of the back of the heel of this horse and all the heel buttress that supports the sole. Okay? So, but here's the thing, and this isn't just her mistake. This is common in farriery and with vets because of x-rays. Okay, x-rays don't show you anything on this foot hardly except for the coffin bone. It just shows this setting in the foot. It'll show kind of an outline of the foot, but all it's going to show is this bone sitting there. And so that's all they look at. They've been trained to just look at the foot as pretty much being this. They don't see that there's a real foot, a whole foot in there. Now, only part of this foot is bone. The heels aren't bone, they're cartilage. See there? Look at there. From there, all this is cartilage. All this is cartilage right here. And it moves. You know? So, you can't put a bare bone on a table and measure its angles and say, well, that's what every foot should be. See? Because the foot itself is very much different when it's got all the cartilage and everything else on it. You know, she measured, look, you can see this. Okay? When this bone isn't setting in this foot, when it's setting flat like this bone sets in the foot like that. Okay? If we were to cut into this right here, it's thick. The foot itself holds the bone at an angle up like that. Okay? So, you know, you can't take this and say that's the angle of the coronary band. Because the angle of the coronary band is up here. Like this. Not down here. Like that. See how I have to make it steeper to get that to work? That's like 30 degrees. When it's in the foot, it's like 20 degrees. You see how that, and of course to get that 30 degrees, then I cut those heels off. Plunk. You know? So that's how they come up with that idea. And that's wrong. I mean, you ought to be able to see that this is a whole foot here. Coronary band goes around here. Here, look at here. Let's do this. Let's see if we can. Okay, look. You know that this is uniform sole thickness, right? From the heel buttress up here, all through here, where the sole is, uniform sole thickness. Let's put this like this. Okay, now let's look at if I was looking at this, I'm seeing the coronary band goes at this angle, right? Okay, what about this? If I'm looking at this, how am I seeing it? I'm seeing a coronary band that goes like this. See, that's 30 degrees, right in there like that. Okay, now look at that compared to the foot behind it. Okay, this is more like 18, you know, anywhere from 15 to 18 to 20 degrees is what I've measured on good feet, you know, that have uniform sole thickness and the right size heel buttress. Okay, the angle of the hairline is about 18. Okay. It's not 30. Okay, now if I want to make this 30, what do I got to do? I got to cut heel off, right? Like that. Okay, so I hope you get that. You know, let's not, you know, we're going to throw some blame in. How did this get interjected into this whole wild horse hoof model thing? It got interjected through Hildred Strasser, and everybody and their dog, including me, picked it up at points. Okay? So let's not do the blame game. It's tempting to want to do that. You know, I just hope that people see this and just start changing. Let's just change. Let's change and go with the truth. People don't mean to hurt your horses. You know, I didn't mean to hurt mine. People don't mean to teach you what's wrong, even if they're in it for the money and making money out of it. Okay? Hey, you put a lot of time into this. More power to them. You know, your time is worth something, these people. And some horses have really been helped. But we're decimating a lot of them as well by this false teaching on the heels. Okay, that ought to do it.